The instructor for K-Flight is Technical Sergeant Brad Evans.
Flight leader for K-Flight from the 172nd Force Support Squadron, Jackson, Mississippi, Technical Sergeant Holly Tucker. From the 163rd Maintenance Group, March Air Force Base, California, Technical Sergeant Austin Archie. From the 509th Operations Support Squadron, Whiteman, Air Force Base, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Stephen Auer. From the 110th Medical Group, Battle Creek, Michigan, Technical Sergeant Kevin Bell. Yes. 157th Force Support Squadron, Pease Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Bradley Bogue. Unable to attend, from the 4th Equipment Maintenance Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Jeremy Birch. From the 20th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Daniel Famara. From the 177th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Egg Harbor, New Jersey, Technical Sergeant Christopher Foy. From the 375th Communications Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Keith Kelly. From the 145th Readiness Squadron, Charlotte, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Sidney Loftus. From the 20th Aerospace Medicine Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Brian Lohr. From the 163rd Force Support Squadron, March Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Alicia Marquez. From the 311th Recruiting Squadron, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Jessica Martinez. From the 126th Operations Support Flight, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Kevin C. From the 4th Civil Engineering Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Dennis Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, K-Flight.
The instructor for Air Flight is Technical Sergeant C.J. Boswell.
Flight leader from the 108th Logistics Readiness Squadron, Joint Base McGuire, Dix Lakehurst, New Jersey, Technical Sergeant Thomas Mason. From the 338th U.S. Air Force Recruiting Squadron, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, Technical Sergeant Jason Ball. From the 375th Medical Support Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Tempest Barnett. From the 265th Combat Communications Squadron, South Portland, Maine, Technical Sergeant Peter Dutz. From the 908th Maintenance Squadron, Maxwell Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Keith Jeffries. Detachment 1, 364th Training Squadron, Fort Littlewood, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Jana Kurtzals. From the 254th Red Horse Squadron, Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, Technical Sergeant Jesse Leon Guerrero. From the 609th Air Communications Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Timothy Montjoy. Detachment 2, 20th Operations Group, Homestead Air Reserve Base, Florida, Technical Sergeant Brandon Paddock. From the 15th Operation Weather Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Robert Rath. From the 254th Security Forces Squadron, Anderson Air Force Base, Guam, Technical Sergeant Derek Santos. From the 16th Airlift Squadron, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Michael Sullivan. From the 135th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Warfield Air National Guard Base, Maryland, Technical Sergeant Jennifer Trammell. And from the 123rd Special Tactics Squadron, Louisville, Kentucky, Technical Sergeant Don Yates. Ladies and gentlemen, L Flight.
The instructor for M-Flight is Technical Sergeant Brandy Kelly.
Good morning. From the 179th as our flight leader, 179th Maintenance Squadron, Mansfield, Ohio, Technical Sergeant Jason Ward. From the 38th Cyberspace Readiness Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Ramon Alvarez. From the 509th Communications Squadron, Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Mitchell Cooney. From Geo Intel Analysis Squadron, Air Force Base, Ohio, Technical Sergeant Seth Crawford. From the 135th Maintenance Squadron, Maryland Air National Guard, Maryland, Technical Sergeant Lindsay DeSoto. From Detachment 1, 372nd Training Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Joseph Kearns. From the 254th Force Support Squadron, Technical Sergeant Joseph Leon Guerrero, also known as Lion Warrior. From the 375th Aero Medical Evacuation Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Victor Lopez. From the 628th Medical Support Squadron, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Silber Manuel. From the 10th Flight Test Squadron, Tinker Air Force Base, Oklahoma, Technical Sergeant Kevin Spano. From the 20th Maintenance Operations Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Natalie Torado. From the 106 Security Forces Squadron, West Hampton Beach, New York, Technical Sergeant Andres Velazquez. From the 157th Force Support Squadron, Peace Air National Guard Base, New Hampshire, Technical Sergeant James Watson. And from the 14th Weather Squadron, Asheville, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant George Zambrana. Ladies and gentlemen, M-Flight.
The instructor for in-flight is Technical Sergeant Don Noel.
Flight leader for in-flight from the 14th Wing Operation Readiness Training Flight, Royal Canadian Air Force, Sergeant Janet Reary. From the U.S. Air Force Central Command, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Sean Anderson. From the 4th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Michael Clark. From the 509th Operations Support Squadron, Whiteman Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Michael Garcia. From the 20th Component Maintenance Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant James Isley. From the Air Mobility Command Air Operations Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Raymond Johnson. From the 116th Logistics Readiness Squadron, Robbins Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Bruce Johnson. From the 178th Medical Group, Springfield, Ohio Air National Guard, Technical Sergeant Stephen Kisos. From the 164th Medical Group, Memphis, Tennessee Air National Guard, Technical Sergeant Anna Marshall. From the 184th Security Forces, McConnell Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Brandon Murray. From the 192nd Medical Group, Langley Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Juan Ortiz. From the 164th Maintenance Squadron, Channel Islands, California, Technical Sergeant Abel Rodriguez. From the 446th Civil Engineering Squadron, McCord Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Justin Shattuck. From Headquarters Air Mobility Command, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Amy Weller. Ladies and gentlemen, in flight.
The instructor for O-Flight is Master Sergeant John Lehrman.
The flight leader for O-Flight from the 102nd Logistics Readiness Flight, Otis Air National Guard Base, Technical Sergeant Victoria Kinney. From the 4th Security Forces Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant David Barger. From AFCENT, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Jeremy Bennett. From the 628th Medical Support Squadron, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Devin Bermudez. From the Enterprise Operations Squadron, National Reconnaissance Office, Chantilly, Virginia, Technical Sergeant Michael Klun. From the 138th Civil Engineering Squadron, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Technical Sergeant Christopher Dallas. From the 345th U.S. Air Force Recruiting Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Brandon Grissom. From Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office, the Pentagon, Washington, D.C., Technical Sergeant Kiana Hamid. From the 618th Air and Space Operations Center, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Jeremy Hayes. From the 31st Intelligence Squadron, Fort Gordon, Georgia, Technical Sergeant Darren Howell. From the 157th Operations Support Flight, Pease Air National Guard Base, New Hampshire, Technical Sergeant Shane Hurd. From the 108th Comptroller Flight, Joint Base McGuire, New Jersey, Technical Sergeant Jeffrey McGrath. From the 117th Air Control Squadron, Hunter Army Airfield, Savannah, Georgia, Technical Sergeant Andre Sanders. From the 101st Security Forces Squadron, Bangor, Maine, Staff Sergeant Matthew Smith. And from CENTCOM, Technical Sergeant Jonathan Unangst. Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary O-Flight.
The instructor for P Flight is Technical Sergeant Cable Rose.
Our flight leader from the 22nd Wing, North Bay, Canada, Canadian Royal Air Forces, Sergeant Pierre Simard. From the 157th Air Operations Group, St. Louis, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Billy Blankenship. From the 139th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, St. Joseph, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Ryan Breifogel. From the 311th Recruiting Squadron, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Ryan Cole. From the 509th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Travis Gatchell. From the 101st Civil Engineering Squadron, Bangor, Maine, Staff Sergeant Charles Harding. From the 64th Air Refueling Squadron, Pease Air National Guard Base, Technical Sergeant Brian Kaiser. From the Air Force Institute of Technology, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Technical Sergeant Allison Loy. From the 177th Force Support Squadron, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, Technical Sergeant Archie Mason. From the 4th Security Forces Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Khalil Sewell. From the National Reconnaissance Office, Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, Technical Sergeant Jason Smith. From the 4th Security Forces Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Michael Smith. From the 20th Aerospace Medicine Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Ann Summarize. From the 101st Civil Engineering Squadron, Bangor, Maine, Technical Sergeant Richard Wardwell. From the 15th Operational Weather Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Kenyetta Williams. From the 145th Logistics Readiness Squadron, Charlotte, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Jedediah Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, P Flight.
The instructor for Q Flight is Master Sergeant Michael Caracoglia.
Our flight leader from the 108th Global Mobility Readiness Squadron, Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst, Technical Sergeant Alan Beard. From National Reconnaissance Office, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, Technical Sergeant Christopher Barnes. From the 163rd Maintenance Operation Flight, March Air Reserve Base, California, Technical Sergeant Renee Barrett. From the Air Station Los Angeles, Petty Officer First Class Emmanuel Benitez. From the 375th Communications Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Brad Brooks. From the 375th Logistics Readiness Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Illinois, Technical Sergeant Charles Conley. From Detachment 4th Air Operations Squadron, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Ohio, Technical Sergeant Erin Diaz. From the 189th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Arkansas Air National Guard, Technical Sergeant Marvin Esteban. From the 125th Special Tactics Squadron, Portland, Oregon, Technical Sergeant Brian Floyd. From the DoD Executive Agent for Space Staff, Pentagon, Washington, D.C., Technical Sergeant Ernest Fry. From the 203rd Red Horse Squadron, Virginia Beach, Virginia, Technical Sergeant Jason Goki. From the 437th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Christopher Mansfield. From the 4th Civil Engineer Squadron, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Technical Sergeant Billy Parham. From the 509th Maintenance Squadron, Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, Technical Sergeant Diego Kias. From the 156th Operations Support Flight, Puerto Rico Air National Guard, Technical Sergeant Raymond Rosado. And from the 20th Comptroller Squadron, Shaw Air Force Base, South Carolina, Technical Sergeant Melissa Wells. Ladies and gentlemen, Q Flight.
Now it is time to graduate Airman Leadership School, Class 13-2. Instructor for A Flight, Staff Sergeant Nicole Lemieux.
The flight leader for A Flight from the 172nd Civil Engineering Squadron, Mississippi Air National Guard, Staff Sergeant Jack Donald. From the 315th Airlift Wing, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, Senior Airman Tiffany Baines. From the 94th Maintenance Squadron, Dobbins Air Reserve Base, Georgia, Senior Airman Max Cochran. From the 103rd Security Forces Squadron, Connecticut Air National Guard, Senior Airman Adam Cooper. From the 185th Logistics Readiness Squadron, Iowa Air National Guard, Senior Airman Scott Evans. From Alabama Air National Guard Headquarters, Alabama Air National Guard, Senior Airman Raymond Freeman. From the 183rd Security Forces Squadron, Illinois Air National Guard, Senior Airman James Hill. From the 117th Communications Flight, Alabama Air National Guard, Senior Airman Joshua McBrayer. From the 148th Civil Engineering Squadron, Minnesota Air National Guard, Senior Airman Jacob Olson. From the 200th Red Horse Squadron, Ohio Air National Guard, Senior Airman Sean Orndorff. From the 188th Maintenance Squadron, Arkansas Air National Guard, Senior Airman Trenton Parsons. From the 143rd Information Operations Squadron, Washington Air National Guard, Senior Airman Stephanie Riegler. From the 101st Security Forces Squadron, Maine Air National Guard, Senior Airman Travis Stewart. Last but not least, from the 103rd Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Connecticut Air National Guard, Senior Airman Ryan Sullivan. Ladies and gentlemen, the tenacious A Flight.
The instructor for B Flight, Technical Sergeant DJ Westfall.
Unable to be with us today, the flight leader from B Flight from the 148th Maintenance Squadron, Duluth, Minnesota, Staff Sergeant Jesse Hagland. From the 916th Air Refueling Wing, Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, North Carolina, Senior Airman Alan Abernathy. From the 141st Maintenance Squadron, Fairchild Air Force Base, Washington, Senior Airman Brooks Booth. From the 128th Medical Group, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Senior Airman Garrett Boy. From the 172nd Civil Engineering Squadron, Jackson, Mississippi, Senior Airman James Brown. From the 213th Engineering Installation Squadron, Newburgh, New York, Senior Airman Ryan Burns. From the 914th Airlift Wing, Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station, New York, Senior Airman Brandon Callahan. From the 202nd Weather Flight, Otis Air National Guard Base, Massachusetts, Senior Airman Thomas Dady. Detachment 1, 118th Operations Group, Nashville, Tennessee, Senior Airman Timothy Gillahan. From the 146th Force Support Squadron, 146th Airlift Wing, Channel Islands, California Air National Guard, Senior Airman Christina Luna. From the 181st Civil Engineering Squadron, Terre Haute, Indiana, Senior Airman Kyle McLish. From the 14th Air Reserve Squadron, 14th Wing, Greenwood, Master Corporal David Murray. That's in Canada, everybody. 103rd Operations Support Flight, Bradley Air National Guard, East Granbury, Connecticut, Senior Airman Amber Nonamaker. From the 251st Civil Group, Springfield, Ohio, Senior Airman Kevin Patillo. From the 134th Air Refueling Wing, McGee Tyson, Senior Airman Nicole Shingleton. From the 186th Maintenance Squadron, Meridian, Mississippi, Senior Airman Matthew Thomas. Ladies and gentlemen, B Flight.
The instructor for C Flight, Staff Sergeant Crystal Coleman.
The amazing flight leader for C Flight from the 134th Security Forces Squadron, McGee Tyson Air National Guard Base, Staff Sergeant John Kiley. From the 180th Civil Engineering, sorry Kiley. From 180th Civil Engineering Fighter Wing, Senior Airman Tyron Boyd. From the 101st Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Maine Air National Guard, Sea Airman Jonathan Cattell. From the 115th Security Forces Squadron, Wisconsin Air National Guard, Sea Airman Anthony Kraft. From the Western Air Defense Squadron, Joint Base Lewis McCord, Senior Airman Juliana Cruz. From the 134th Operations Support Flight, McGee Tyson Air National Guard Base, Senior Airman Bobby Cruz with an E. From the 9/11 Security Forces Squadron, Air Force Reserves, Pennsylvania, Senior Airman John Davis. From the 213th Engineering Installation Squadron, New York Air National Guard, Senior Airman Senior Airman Figueroa, From the 158th Operations Squadron, Vermont Air National Guard, Senior Airman Kyle Hassett. From the 213th Engineering Installation Squadron, New York Air National Guard, Senior Airman Victor Javier. From the 172nd Force Support Squadron, Mississippi Air National Guard, Senior Airman Alameen Lewis. From the 234th Intelligence Squadron, Beale Air Force Base, Senior Airman Kelly Loff. From the 932nd Maintenance Squadron, Scott Air Force Base, Senior Airman Tracy Pullen. From the 408th Tactical Helicopter Squadron, Royal Canadian Air Force, Senior Airman Robert Cesarto. From the 213th Engineering Installation Squadron, New York Air National Guard, Senior Airman Rodson Vasquez. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Sea Flight.
And the instructor for D Flight, Technical Sergeant Josh Hatcher.
The ALS 13-2 class leader from the 114th Maintenance Squadron, Sioux Falls Air National Guard, South Dakota, Staff Sergeant Nicholas Bloomer. The flight leader from the 107th Air Wing, Niagara Falls, Senior Airman Adam Gonzalez. From the 248th Air Traffic Control Squadron, Meridian, Mississippi, Senior Airman Ronnie Allen. From the 158th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Burlington, Vermont, Senior Airman Michael Dagno. From the 115th Security Force Squadron, Madison, Wisconsin, Senior Airman Jeffrey Froming. From the 243rd Engineering Installation Squadron, Portland, Maine, Senior Airman Jesse Howard. From 134th Air Refueling Wing, McGee Tyson Air National Guard, Senior Airman Edward Kiley. From the 134th Medical Group, McGee Tyson Air National Guard Base, Senior Airman Elizabeth Lloyd. From Detachment 1, the 201st Red Horse Squadron, Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, Senior Airman Nicholas Mariotti. From the 149th Security Force Squadron, Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, Senior Airman Yesenia Martinez. From the 187th Security Force Squadron, Montgomery, Alabama, Senior Airman Terry Perryman. From the 315th Operations Support Squadron, Charleston Air Force Base, South Carolina, Senior Airman Bobby Prelo. From the 149th Force Support Squadron, Lackland Air Force Base, Texas, Senior Airman Ronaldo Ramos. From the 446th Civil Engineering Squadron, McCord Air Force Base, Washington, Senior Airman Michael Rosati. From the 101st Maintenance Squadron, Bangor, Maine, Senior Airman Kayla Tossi. Ladies and gentlemen, the Walking D Flight.
Yes, sir.
We would like to recognize one final time the graduates of the Non-Commissioned Officer Academy Class 13-3 and the Airman Leadership School Class 13-2. Congratulations to all of our graduates. Finally, we would like to recognize a group of professional airmen that pour their heart and soul into enlisted professional education. Would the instructors and staff of the Paul H. Langford EPME Center please stand and be recognized?
Technical Sergeant Beth Pinozo, Staff Sergeant Crystal Coleman, would you please come forward for the honor flight presentation?
Hello again. The Honor Flight program is designed to instill a spirit of healthy competition between the flights. The distinction of Honor Flight is awarded to flights who meet the weekly minimum requirements of physical fitness, group study, and community service. Additionally, flights must conduct themselves with honor by avoiding disciplinary problems, learn the Airman's Creed, and meet all required administrative deadlines. At this time, we'd like the following flights to stand to be recognized for achieving the distinction of honor flights. So, from 13-3 NCOA, B flight, F flight, G flight, H flight, K flight, O flight, and P flight. ALS class 13-2, B flight, C flight, and D flight. Woo! Please be seated. Congratulations.
The Top Honor Flight Award recognizes the flight that contributed the most in the areas of physical fitness, group study, and community service. The NCOA Top Honor Flight had the following totals: human performance points, 963, group study hours, 837, and community service hours, 150. For NCOA Class 13-3, the Top Honor Flight Award goes to K Flight with a total of 1,950 points. You can be seated. Thank you. Great job. The ALS Top Honor Flight had the following totals: human performance, 1,217. Group study hours, 1,026. Community service, 109. The ALS Class 13-2 Top Honor Flight Award goes to C Flight with a total of 2,353 points. Our Commandant Chief Felch will be presenting the Top Honor Flight Awards for NCOA and ALS, sir, if you would please join us. Would the Honor Flight representatives for NCOA K Flight and C Flight please come up to be recognized at this time? C Flight, huh? Yes, sir. Thank you, Chief Felch.
At this time, would our Staff Community Project Representative Technical Sergeant C.J. Boswell and Staff Sergeant Crystal Coleman please come forward for community service acknowledgement?
During the last several weeks at the Paul H. Langford Center, the ALS and NCOA classes have been presented with the opportunity to participate in community projects and give something back to society. This is not a requirement for graduation. However, it is a selfless initiative for the students to embrace the local population and display the professionalism they embody every day. We are proud of what they have done for the surrounding areas, and we are grateful for their open and welcoming attitude towards the community. The following is a quick synopsis of just some of their accomplishments.
NCOA Class 13-3 contributed 416 hours of community service and raised $1,568 to the Habitat for Humanity, Blount County Humane Society, Airmen Against Drunk Driving, Medic Blood Drive, Operation Cookie Drop for the Girl Scout Troop 259, Knoxville Area Rescue Ministry, the Knoxville Zoo, Ronald McDonald House, Harmony Family Adoption Center, and also raised $843 for the Blount County Children's Home.
That's amazing. An ALS Class 13-2 contributed 175 hours of community service to Habitat for Humanity, Blount County Humane Society, Airmen Against Drunk Driving, Medac Blood Drive, Helping Baby Eli, and built a home for a women's domestic shelter. And they also recycled.
Thank you, Non-Commissioned Officer Academy 13-3 and Airman Leadership School 13-2 for all your hard work and dedication for these worthy causes.
Thank you, Detective Sergeant Boswell and Staff Sergeant Coleman.
Chief Felch, would you please come forward for final comments?
Sergeant Powell and Sergeant Bloomer, come on up one more time, please. And contrary to what you were told before, please don't walk all the way to the back and then come around. Just come straight up. Just come on straight up. Yeah. They're off the hook, right, Sergeant? If I give them permission? Yes. Okay, thanks. Come on up. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it's easy to dwell on the negative when we get 314 people together. Sometimes we start talking about things that go wrong. Almost always in these classes, we do have things that go wrong. This class had an exceptional behavioral record, which means that each and every one of these students, airmen and NCO, by and large made good choices on and off duty, in and out of uniform while they were here. That kind of a record bodes extremely well when we look at class leadership. And I bring Sergeant Powell and Sergeant Bloomer up here as a representative of all of your class leaders who did an exceptional job. So as I hand my Commandant coin to these two representing my thanks to student leadership, would all of the green ropes please stand and be recognized as well? Ladies and gentlemen, student leadership. Thank you, Sergeant Powell and Sergeant Bloomer. Students of classes NCO Academy 13-3 and ALS 13-2, I salute each and every one of you, including Sergeant Kiley. And he's a local guy, so I can continue picking on him even after everybody else goes home. For your hard work and effort and accomplishments of the past weeks, culminating in your successful completion of resident enlisted professional military education. As you travel today to your homes and families, to your work centers, your co-workers, your supervisors, and your subordinates, may the memories of your time here shape the way you act, the way you think, and the way you react. May your experiences and new knowledge motivate you to continually strive for personal and professional growth. Travel safely, good luck, and Godspeed.
Squadron! Aye! Attention! Report!
Sir, A-Flight, all accounted for. Sir, B-Flight, all present. Sir, C-Flight, all accounted for. Sir, D-Flight, all present. Sir, E-Flight, all present. Sir, F-Flight, all present. Sir, D-Flight, all present. Sir, H-Flight, all present. Sir, I-Flight, all present. J-Flight, all present. Sir, K-Flight, all accounted for.
Sir, L-Flight, all present.
Sir, F-Flight, all present. Sir, N-Flight, all present. Sir, O-Flight, all present.
Sir, P-Flight, all present.
Sir, Q-Flight, all present. Sir, A flight, all present. Sir, B flight, all accounted for. Sir, C flight, all accounted for. Sir, B flight, all accounted for.
Parade! Parade! Yes! Squadron! Flight! Dash hut! Parade! Parade! Yes! Sound retreat! Squadron! Flight! Dash hut! Present! Present! Ah! Order! Order! Ah!
Sir, comes out secure.
Retire the colors.
Calling right. March.
Recite the Airman's Creed.
I am an American Airman. I am a warrior. I have answered my nation's call. I am an American Airman. My mission is to fly, fight, and win. I am faithful to a proud heritage, a tradition of honor, and a legacy of valor.